But let's move on to a docu-series that I watched that I think not a lot of people are watching and are kind of sleeping on because I think it's absolutely spectacular. I'm talking Murder on Middle Beach. It's a docu-series, a true crime murder mystery on HBO Max, which is probably part of the reason why it's not so popular is because not everyone's really getting HBO Max. I mean, on me personally, just a quick tangent. I think HBO Max is kind of worth it. I mean, it's expensive. I mean, I think I got a deal for like 6 months for like $60, and then from there on, it's like $15 a month. Which again, yeah, it's another streaming service, $15 a month. But honestly, it's worth it. I mean, you're getting the Universal movies releases. And there's a lot of really awesome stuff on there. I mean, you got HBO shows like Game of Thrones, seasons 1 through 4, because everything else doesn't fucking matter with Game of Thrones. Um, and then you got other shows like The Sopranos are on there. The Wire's on there. Classic, HBO original shows. I mean, the Westworld's pretty good, and I'm planning on trying to catch up on Westworld. I've only watched season 1. I haven't watched season 2 and 3. And there's a lot of really cool old stuff on there, and they have a lot of films on there that are really cool. I'm currently watching Falling Skies, which is like a sci-fi, like alien apocalypse show, invasion show that came out in 2011, and I never finished it, so I'm watching that again. It's really awesome. So there's a lot of cool animation on there. I think a lot of Studio Ghibli films are on there. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I think HBO Max is quite worth it. But anyway, moving on, this is an HBO Max HBO original documentary. And like I said, it's a true crime murder mystery. But what's unique about it is that the documentarian, Madison Hamburg, is the son of the person who was brutally murdered. His mother was brutally murdered back, I think, in 2010. And this documentary series is him trying to figure out who is responsible and who's connected to his mother's murder. And that, I mean, it was a gruesome murder, so it's probably connected, in his family, and his family's pretty large. And, he conducts interviews with his family members that may or may not have been involved in the murder. So, it's really interesting. His investigation starts in 2013, and it spans all the way up to 2020, which is crazy. It's 7 years long. Very unique experience for me. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've seen any other documentary series that are where the documentarian is heavily emotionally connected with the objective of said docu-series. So I don't know if I've ever seen that before. So it was a unique experience for me. And also just thematically, which we'll talk about towards the end of this topic. But it's a 4-episode series. I think each episode's an hour long, other than the last one. I think the last one's an hour and a half. So it's not a very large commitment, but heavily worth it. So let's get into why. But again, the documentary is kind of frustrating in a good way. Like a lot of good documentaries, the documentarian, like, they run into roadblocks. Certain information's not disclosed to them because they're making a documentary or because of their unique position in relation to the case. But I mean, again, that kind of gets your speculation going, and like the wheels turning, and like the webs of actual possibilities of what actually happened to his mother, and like what he's learning about her, which is it gets quite insane, quite crazy, surprisingly. But I don't know if he ever actually expected that. But hold on, let me take a little sip of my coffee. But yeah, I mean, it gets pretty crazy. I will say it gets pretty emotionally heavy at points, especially when he's interviewing some family members of his that may or may not have been related to involved in the murder. So if that's something that you're uncomfortable with or kind of have a hard time watching, you might have a hard time watching this. But I mean, like I said, it's emotionally heavy and it gets quite depressing at times. I mean, it's a guy, filming a documentary about his mother's murder, which, you know, may or may not have his family members connected with it. So it gets really dark and like, oh man, like that really fucking sucks type of stuff. So again, it gets heavy, but like it's still like in a good way though. Like it enhances the experience, it enhances the themes of the docu-series, which I'll get into in a little bit. It also builds suspense and again gets your wheels turning, speculation. Like it gets you involved in the series, which is something that really good docu-series do. So yeah, but I think what the main thing is here, but giving in another little disclaimer, if you're a person that requires like closure, like absolute closure, is like, oh, the objective of said docuseries has been met and this is now where we are, this is finished. If you're someone that really requires that out of, your entertainment or specifically documentaries, this is definitely probably not the one for you because it does not have actual closure like in real life. So I mean, a little bit of a spoiler there, but yeah, it doesn't have closure in that regard. But in my opinion, it has a different type of closure. It has thematic closure in my opinion. I think the purpose of the documentary is revealed to you probably in a little bit. I mean, obviously the purpose Madison has of making the documentary is to figure out who killed his mom. But I don't know if he intended the message of, or the theme of the documentary to be, someone going through pain and loss and how someone deals with that and how someone deals with trauma in their unique way. And that's kind of the theme of the documentary. And I thought, like, at the end, I think it wraps up very beautifully, communicating that message and that theme that, like, it's okay to grieve however you want to and have to grieve. I mean, especially coming from experience of losing a loved one. I mean, everyone deals with that in a unique way. And I thought it was very clear to me at a certain point where one of Madison's family members is very highly implicated in the murder of his mother. And you see them interviewed by Madison, and they speak about, well, whenever something traumatic happens in your life, you have two paths you can take. You can let it control your life and you can be absorbed by it and be destroyed by it, or you can take it and use it for personal development. You can analyze it, you can talk about it, and you can cry about it, and you can just deal with it in a unique way, however you need to, and become a better human being because of it. And at that point, I'm like, well, that person definitely did not kill Madison's mother, because a person like that who speaks like that, who was affected by this event that much, does not, make that event happen. So I thought that was really cool, and then I was like, wow, like it's so true. And I feel like a lot of people need to hear that, especially at a, when we all went through a year like 2020, grieving in your own unique way and we just all need to remember people grieve differently. And I thought that was a really awesome theme. And, it's a great purpose for the docuseries to have been made. And I really hope Madison gets the closure that he wants and honestly very much deserves out of at the very end. So yeah, and it also deals with moving on, not only dwelling on it. Maybe Madison is not really taking some of his messages of his documentary a little bit to heart, like, especially looking at, his sibling, but I mean, moving on. But I mean, again, having that closure, you need that sometimes in order to move on. So I'm really hoping that Madison gets his closure that he needs. So, like I said, it's not a long docuseries. It's 4 episodes. The last one's pretty long. It's an hour and a half. But I mean, again, it's not a very large investment in your time, and I highly recommend it. And I think it's very much worth it. And I don't think a lot of people are really speaking about it. I don't know how many people have watched it, or if it's, I don't know. And it doesn't seem like, HBO Max was kind of pushing it a little bit. I saw an ad for it. That's how I found out about it, but I don't know how many people are talking about it. So I figured I would talk about it on here, because I kind of want to do a little bit more talking about more things that haven't been talked about. I want to actually come out with something that people, something obscure that a lot of people don't know about. So that's what I need to do on this podcast, so people can actually check me out and finally get exposed to me. So yeah, subscribe and like the video and leave me a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, wherever, follow me. I don't know. Do whatever the app tells you to do about me, okay? I'm taking a drink of my coffee. Yeah, just help me out a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, Murder on Middle Beach. Also very cool, unique title for a docuseries. And if you watch the intro to docuseries, it was like, oh, that was a really cool intro. But anyway, really great. Check it out. Hello there. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, this is Nerd Out Sanctuary. I'm your host, Michael. What do I talk about, you say? Well, I talk about anything nerdy. So that's movies, video games, TV shows, comic books every once in a while. Books, maybe not. I don't know. Anything that I feel like talking about. I'm a huge nerd. I hope you're a huge nerd, and I hope we can enjoy our nerdiness together here. This is a full audio podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the major podcast platforms. So consider going over to those and checking out the full version of the episode. And other past episodes, please leave me a review and subscribe on those platforms. If you don't want to do that, clipped, shorter versions of those full episodes will be posted here on YouTube. So consider subscribing and liking the videos for more to support me and future content that I will be producing in the future on nerdy stuff. So yeah, thank you, and see you on the next one.